This is WHLC Radio. I'm your host, John Jones, and this is the Weekly Scholar. This is a weekly news show. We discuss topics such as philosophy, linguistics, history, political science, and current events. Today we have a guest host, Mr. Jones. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Jesse Jones, and I'm going to be co-hosting the show today.
And no, folks, we are not brothers. We're just classmates in philosophy together, and we just got out of our exam, and we think we did pretty good.
That's right.
Let's hope we get better. Let's hope we get good results on Tuesday. All right, folks. Today we're gonna discuss a whole range of topics, but first I'd like Mr. Jones to introduce himself, his likes, dislikes, and all the things he wants to do when he gets older.
Well, my name, as you know, is Jesse Jones, and I, first of all, look forward to graduating next semester, getting ready to finish college, and looking to live an exciting life afterwards and see where life takes me.
Sounds like a lot of good. You're a senior this year, right?
Yes.
Okay. And how's that been for you?
Well, my experience has been it's been kind of crazy, but I like it though. You know, it's so many lessons you learn in college, but mostly I remember the lessons I learned outside of the classroom.
All right, that sounds really good. We're gonna touch upon that a little later, but today, first topic, we're gonna talk about something that is just wow, folks. So on Tuesday in New York City, there was a election held. It was an election day. A lot of schools were closed, and people were able to vote. The only thing is, Mr. Jones, do you know what that election was for?
No, I wasn't exactly clear on what was being voted on, but basically my understanding of it was it is leading up to the presidential race.
I've talked to, at leaving college, there's about 12,000 students here, and I've talked to other people from other places, and a majority of people have no idea who ran for anything, what was it for. Some people were just really confused. Do you think this is a bad thing? Do you think this shows poorly on America about just how we're voting nowadays, or is it just New York City?
I think it's a reflection of us as a country, because not only do we have to vote, but we also have to know what the issues are, and what they be, and what and how they affect us. Because whether people know it or not, politics has an effect on every aspect of your life, from everything from education to jobs to money. Sometimes who you marry, your career choice, all different things. So it pays dividend to know what is going on.
Yeah, that is definitely true. I mean, it could have been city council elections, and running city council, it doesn't. A lot of people think it doesn't really make a difference. They're not really in charge of New York City, but I beg to differ. Those guys really control New York City. Would you agree? Absolutely,
because just because they're not the main head of authority doesn't mean they don't have a say so in a decision, I should say, in what happens in the city.
Definitely. I mean, they control a lot of things that happens in the city. They control where the flow of money goes, and this is the Bronx, New York, so I guess the better people we have representing us, the better things will go along.
Absolutely. And not only, when you go to vote, you also have to, you have to do your research. People, sometimes they make random decisions, and it's not always good. And in fact, odds are, if you make a decision randomly without being informed, you're going to make the wrong choice.
I mean, right now, Tuesday, we could have elected a guy who had an alcoholism problem, or just with a lot of, or who didn't have our best interests at all. But because he was the only one running, he might have won, and no one would be able to say any difference.
Exactly, because literally, it's not that people didn't know. It's just that in some cases you have people that do know, and that just didn't vote. That just didn't, like, say something. And even when you don't vote, what happens is that your decision, you lose the ability to make the decision, and you allow somebody else to make the decision for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that being with the majority, well, because since you didn't vote, you leave. Literally, it's like leaving your future in other people's hands.
Is there any way we can combat this?
Political science.
Political science. Why'd you get into political science?
Well, I feel like for first of all, like, I look at my personality and I like to argue a lot. That's the first reason. The second reason is that, it goes back to what I said earlier. If you have something that plays a major factor, or that plays the biggest part of your life, it pays to know about it.
Mm-hmm. Were you arguing with your parents all the time?
Yeah.
Sounds good. So you're about to graduate college. We're still in a really bad economy. We're still not doing well financially as a country, and there are over 50 million people who are unemployed. The odds look slim of you getting a job. How do you feel about your future?
Well, I feel my future is very bright because, first of all, I'm not worried about the circumstances. Circumstances don't define your life. You either let them bring you down, or you basically become the comeback kid. That sometimes, sometimes what happens is that when you have a person who is put under so many circumstances, and major circumstances, what happens is that they learn how to adjust to pressure. Mm-hmm. They become a big time player, and in terms of being able to not only rise to the occasion, but end up going over. Like, it's like.
Quick question: what do you want to do?
I'm looking to get into law, criminal justice, or maybe even entertainment law, because I'm also looking at the field of acting and stuff too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, gotta move to Hollywood.
Oh man, we in New York City, man.
Oh yeah, that is very true. That is very true. There are a lot of actors in New York City. So you want to be a lawyer?
Yes.
Okay. So sounds like a good plan. What law school do you want to go to?
I've done some research. I looked at Brooklyn Law School and New York Law School. I figured I want to keep it local because
New York Law School is expensive, my friend. But not impossible. I know a judge who she had a kid, and she was able to graduate from law school from New York Law School.
Hey, you know what that is? That's motivation.
Oh yeah.
That's having motivation and a strategy.
Brooklyn Law School is a pretty good school, folks. If you ever want to check that out, if you want to be a lawyer and you don't want to pay these gigantic fees, Brooklyn Law School is probably where you want to go.
Oh, and there's I forgot to mention this. It's also CUNY Law School, which is right, and which coincides with Queens College.
Sounds good. That's a good idea, folks. Don't get in debt. If you probably go to like University of Oregon or something like that, you're gonna be in debt for about like $200,000, maybe a little over. Wow. So what are the challenges you foresee for the future with this economy?
Well, first of all, like the challenges that I can see coming forward is, first and foremost, our national debt with China. Like, how do you pay that off?
14 trillion.
And it actually, believe it or not, it actually increases every hour.
Oh wow.
That's the thing.
By how much?
I don't know exactly how much it increases, but the number goes up. And another challenge is, getting people to educate themselves about finances. Right now, I think right now is like I like to call it the testing waters, because we are in a recession, but it's not as bad as the Great Depression.
Here's a good question for you. How will you financially plan for the future?
I've thought about that a number of times. I've looked at the way that I meant. First and foremost, first and foremost, you got to look at the way you manage your money. Secondly, you actually have to look at your health, because health and money they actually go hand in hand. And I don't know how many people realize that. The third thing is having a plan.
Oh yeah. Well, there's a big thing, and I was at a financial conference the other day, and a lot of people were talking about spending habits, especially in New York City, because there are a lot of people that will buy $300 sneakers, they'll buy tons of like very expensive jeans, they'll even buy. It's kind of like one-upsmanship. Like, let's say it's me and you. If I have a new Ferrari, you probably want to get a new Ferrari too to keep up with me. And a lot of people see that as normal. Do you think that's a good thing in America?
Nah. Well, while America is built on capitalism, it doesn't mean that you have to that you have to have the latest things all the time.
But the government does say to us, spend, spend, spend.
Yeah, but that's true, and we have to spend. But the question is, how much and where do we spend it on?
I was talking to a financial advisor about it, and he told me that the best clients that you're gonna want, or the people that you want working for you, are not the ones who have like the big expensive car. They're the ones who are probably driving the car they paid $5,000 for and have like really cheap insurance, like a car from like 1992 or something like that. And I asked why, because with business culture, like, you ever see the movie American Psycho, they're always going crazy buying new things. That's what we've been programmed to do. But the business advisor told me, well, the guy who paid $5,000 for his car, he doesn't have to pay anymore for his car. He's done paying for his car. So he has more money in his pocket to spend. So that's a pretty big one. And getting sick is horrible. Like, if you get sick, that's the worst thing that can happen to you, because how are you going to work? How can you keep on going? And future with the government, wow. Do you think the government are going to take care of the sick right now from your...
I think it was an effort to try to help people to take care of themselves, due to what happened with the health bill. I mean, the health bill, excuse me. What that was is, I think maybe instead of forcing it on people, they probably should have suggested it to people instead. Because I think maybe more people would have bought into the program.
Yeah, maybe even just do a program for people who can't afford healthcare. If you can afford it and you can do well without it, like you make an income of $200,000, fine. If you don't and you really need it, and we've gone through all the possibilities, I say give people health care.
But if you're making, like $200,000 a year, there also is something that's associated with good health, because, those are people. I look at actually look at 50 Cent, rapper 50 Cent. Believe it or not, he actually has a schedule. Like, he had a plan to reach where he wanted to go. And I was actually talking about this with a buddy of mine, and it was actually said that he actually goes to sleep at 10 o'clock at night. He exercises regularly. He manages his money wisely, and and with all little skills, when you accumulate those skills, certain things are bound to happen. Like, you're gonna run into an excess amount of money, of course. When you're managing it right, and you're staying on top of your health, and you're doing everything that you possibly can do.
How come the black community doesn't focus more on that? How come rappers don't come out and say, hey, I'm doing this on my video, but I have money in the bank, so please try saving some?
Because, well, actually, that actually is not the rapper's problem. That's the people themselves. Like, and I'm not saying that the rappers don't share any responsibility in this, because they do. But what happens is that you like, as soon as the video goes off, reality checks in. Like he's famous, but I'm not. And of course, like, people don't take the time to realize or to think about what the person had to go through to get to where they are, because some people were born rich and others aren't, but they become rich. And when they become rich, you got to remember that there was a story to it. And if you don't know what the story is, it's hard to accurately paint the picture of a rapper.
That sounds good. I think a lot of people in our generation should focus on, like, not spending but saving. Like, that's something that has just gotten away from our culture now. I mean, like, even if we only say, like, in a bank now, you can't open an account without having like $300 in there, because they take money from you if you don't have $300 in there. So, like, saving, that's going to be a big thing. Okay, folks, we're going to take a 1 or 2 minute break. We'll be right back with the Weekly Scholar. I'm your host, Johnny Jones. All right, folks, we're back. We've got a range of topics to get through in such a short time, but we'll get through them, folks. Trust me. So we're gonna talk about. What would you rather talk about? Would you rather talk about America's prison system, or would you rather talk about teen pregnancy right now?
How about we do both?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about both. What would you like to do first?
I'll start out with the prison system.
All right. So, there's a lot of prison shows in the United States of America. My best friend's mother always, like, every time I go over their house, it's a prison show. What do you think about America's prison system since it's gone? We've gone so in depth with it to the point where it's like, should we be doing anything about it, or...
Of course we need to do stuff about it. Like, there's always room for improvement. But I would actually, before the prison gets into it gets into the picture, I actually would look at the courts. because as you know, New York City has some of the most overcrowded courts and stuff. Like, you know, you have problems of, you know, people that are being overworked, underpaid, people working under judges, which is not, that actually is not a problem itself, the third option I just mentioned. But if you have people that are overworked and underpaid, and, like, you know, it affects their ability to do their job effectively. And the trick, and of course the trickle down effect is that, you know, people are more likely to be locked up.
Yeah, that's why I want to move to small town Iowa. People won't be overworked there, I hope. But so I'm gonna go through a couple of things. I want you to tell me if you think people should go to jail for this, or do you think people should, if there should be other things.
One quick thing before that. People also, like, you know, you also have to know the difference between jail and prison.
Yeah.
Jail, you're serving 1 year and under. Prison, you know, you're serving anywhere from a year and up.
Wow. Yeah, they don't really talk about that in they don't really talk about that in the media. So, what do you think about drugs such as marijuana and crack cocaine and all that stuff? Do you think the users should go to jail, or should they go to rehab instead?
Rehab.
Why do you say that?
Because, like, you know, it is, if you take them to jail and you don't deal with the habit itself, it's like when they get released, you know, they're gonna go back to the same thing because there was no intervention to address the initial problem.
Yeah, that's definitely true. A lot of people would say, when do we draw the line? Because people who are on drugs will definitely try to do it again, maybe. Do we just send them to jail, or what are the bad things about sending drug users to prison with others?
Well, one danger is, like, you know, when you have two prisoners meet, like, you know, they don't know right off the bat why they're there,
and you don't discuss it.
Exactly. And if that's the case, then, you know, sometimes people, like, you know, sometimes people get over punished, punished harsher than others. And that's just, and sometimes that boils down to, you know, the social economic differences that one may have from another.
Yeah, that's true. My opinion on it is just, I talked about this on a previous episode, but there was a man, and he needed $100 to stay in his program to keep off his drug addiction and stuff like that. He didn't seem like he was, I don't think they diagnosed him properly, because I think, to me, reading it, I saw some mental things that were just wrong. So he decided to rob a bank. He didn't have a gun or anything like that. He just said, this is a robbery. Teller gave him stacks of $100 bills. He takes $100 and tells the lady his story, and that he's sorry, and that he needs the $100 to stay in his rehab program. And he gets caught. The judge hears his story, and he says, 15 years in jail.
Oh, 15?
15 years in jail. I don't think he has the possibility for parole. I could be wrong. I just don't think I would do that. I look at it and I'm like, it just like, I mean, obviously the guy has to have some mental problems. Like, he's dealing with a lot. Like, so I don't think he was, like, he might be sane enough for what legal, like, mixed diagnoses, they happen.
Wow, 15 years in prison. I think the judge kind of came down too hard on him.
They made an example of him. They did, but that's just too much.
And sometimes that needs to happen. You know, if you have people that are leaders, and if you have a person that's struggling with drugs and stuff, you know, you got to remember that it's not just one person. It's the same thing as, you know, if a man was to hit a woman, he's not just hitting a woman, because, you know, a woman is precious. Like, you know, she gives birth. She's a sister. She's a mother. She's a daughter, an auntie. You know, it's not just one person. But if the man was making a conscious effort to clean up his life, then I think 15 years behind bars that's harsh. That's a little too harsh.
To me, the thing that bothers me why does he have to pay $100 to get clean? Or why isn't there a program for him that he can work that off? I mean, if you want people to get clean, that should be the major thing, not making sure they like pay for it, you know.
The thing is that there are drug programs that are free, but I think that it could have been the one that he was dealing with that it could have. I want to say it could have been something like maybe the family had to pay and they fell short.
Or maybe he didn't have any family. That happens a lot. What do you call it? So the prison system with drugs and stuff like that. Like, I think we're both in agreement that there needs to be a bigger effort to have rehab programs.
Of course, dealing with, like the judicial system. Alone, you can look at the Troy Davis court case. When he was fighting to clear his name for years and years, and quite possibly even I remember seeing a video on YouTube where Judge Mathis. I don't know if you're familiar with him or not. Are you?
Yeah. My grandmother watches him sometimes.
I actually saw a video where he actually went off on the justice system because they in his case they screwed up.
Yeah,
flat out. They messed up flat out.
The New York State doesn't have the death penalty, thank God.
Thank you.
But yeah, the death penalty. A lot of people there are a lot of people from the South and a lot of other people who are very in favor of it. But I look at it this way. People have been wrong. The entire world can be wrong at times. Look at Christopher Columbus. They thought that the world was flat or a cube shape, and the entire world was wrong. So definitely people in a court case should be wrong. And as well as it matters how do you define some court systems define like years to life differently. Like in New York State, I think it's only 10 years maybe is life. 10 years to life without the possibility of parole. So it wouldn't, like, life imprisonment isn't really life imprisonment, it's just 10 years. And like others, like in Boston, when they say life imprisonment, they mean life imprisonment. It means you're gonna die. Basically the only way you're gonna get out. So the prison system is just a lot of complications and stuff like that. But how do you think we can, I was looking at a documentary on a History Channel or something like that, and I'm looking at prisons in Europe, and I'm like, I want to go there. Seriously, because there are some prisons in Europe. There are some bad ones, but there are some prisons in Europe that are like, these guys are getting 3 meals a day. Gourmet meals. They have televisions, flat screen televisions. They have their own refrigerators stacked full of food. Nobody fights. The prison guards are just they don't even have guns or anything like that. It's just a nice walk in a park. There's a guy with a prison cell who has a cell right next to the beach. He wakes up every morning to just the beach, and I'm looking at this and I'm like,
seems more like a vacation.
Yeah, like, oh my God, like I don't like, oh my God, that's just amazing, and we're richer than most of these countries. How are some of our prison systems not like that? Like getting people like better instead of worse. Because prison was originally invented to kind of help people adjust back to society and give them time to think.
Yeah, to rehabilitate.
Now it's just
to punish.
Yeah, to punish and see if you can make it. But making it doesn't mean that you'll actually be a better person.
I think that we're very results oriented. Like, you know, like we're worried about looking and being the best. So what happens is I think that sometimes, you know, it clouds people's better judgment. And what happens is that sometimes you have innocent people that basically are going through hell in prison, and they don't even they don't even deserve to be there.
Like they're like what do you call? Each year, about 3 gigantic football stadiums. You can fill 3 gigantic football stadiums full of people in prison who have been raped. I'm talking about MetLife Stadium type football stadiums or FedEx Field, 68,000 people, like, and then times that by 3.
You know, it's a sad state of affairs. That's what that is.
How do you cope with that? I mean, you on an Oprah show or anything like that, like you'll definitely see a bunch of women like, oh, I was raped, and I'm like, okay, that's good. They're getting it out, and I'm glad to be. Men who go through that, you never hear stories about men who go through that, or just they're never the same.
Because they, you know, they feel that, you know, it's an embarrassment, you know, almost like an example of a man accusing a female of rape, and
that never happens.
Exactly, it never sees the light of day.
Like
in court.
I'm sorry to say it, but most guys would go in that case and just laugh the entire time.
It's the truth.
Unless she wasn't really good looking, and then it might beef up the case, but I'm not sure there would be any weight on it.
I don't mean to laugh, you know, because it's actually
it's
a serious topic, you know. But it's like they see it as public embarrassment, you know. Like they're too ashamed to admit when it happens, and then what happens is if a man does come forward and say that it happened, you know, you have to think about the reaction that he may draw, like, you know. If that happened, it's like, oh, you let it happen and this and that, and like, you know, you have people that judge you without knowing the full story.
Yeah. That is definitely true. I wish we could do something like maybe put cameras in the room or something like that, or try or be more proactive about it. But it just doesn't seem like people. It's hard when people are in charge, because there could be prison guards that are letting it happen because they don't like somebody, or just it's just
personal vendettas.
Yeah,
like, you know, personal problems,
and because they're in positions of power. It's just hard, but we can talk about this subject for a long time, and I think we'll get back to it on a show one of these days. But if you could change one thing about the prison system in the United States of America, or even just in New York, what would you do?
Well, for one, I would make sure that there's dealing with, you know, people that have addictions and stuff. I'd actually implement the.
You know, 2 things.
Oh, 2 things?
Yeah.
Well, the first thing is I would actually revamp the system. You know, meaning that instead of, you know, instead of starting out at the top, starting out at the bottom, you know, trying to figure out what happened and stuff. Sometimes it helps to flip the scene, like, you know, to creatively shake things up, like, you know. Get more people involved, and actually get the prisoners' viewpoints, because the prisoners themselves, they're silenced. Yeah, and it's like, you know, unless you're doing a documentary for a TV show, you never get to really hear what they're saying.
Yep, that's definitely true. If it was up to me, I would do, like, the first thing I would do is, if you're only serving 1 or 2 years in prison, I think that you should be given those years to better yourself. I mean, I don't think you should just send you to prison. No, I think you should send you to a place where you're safe. Nobody's gonna mess with you. Everyone's looking to better themselves. Give them therapy for those 2 years. Give them counseling, drug addiction counseling. Help them get when they get out. Make sure that they know where they're gonna live, they know where they're gonna stay, they're gonna have steady food, as well as getting them into like educational programs. Like 2 years, they can get an associate, they can get a GED and associates, and go out and do better with their lives. You know?
Oh, absolutely. I was gonna say that too. Like, you know, that's the second thing, and not only to implement those programs, but to make sure that those programs are performing up to standards.
Yeah, and also, I guess also what I do is I'd make. There's got to be a way for these prisoners who are being raped, they're just going through trauma, to kind of discuss it and like get away from it. Like, you can't just be that they, like, especially those who are gonna be getting out or are not seen as like big threats. Like, they should have a time or a space where they can like tell somebody about it who isn't any ties to the prison, so that everything is taken into an account properly, and just like that way they know, oh, this guy was raped and this guy was, or this woman, and stuff like that. I mean, like, they say prisoners don't have a voice, but I think they should have they may not have a voice in Congress, but their voice should still be heard, you know what I mean?
And that's another thing I think they have to change, you know, with all of the advancements in technology and you know, and stuff like that, you know, like, you know, why, if a person has been released from jail and they've served their time, they've done what they needed to do to rectify the problem, why can't they vote? Like, you know, why can't they have a voice?
Yeah, that sounds like a debate we should continue on having. We're going to take a little break here, and we're going to talk about teen pregnancy next, and one more topic before we break for the day. Thank you. To remind you, I'm your host, John Jones. All right, this has been the Weekly Scholar. Yeah, that was a short break. Trying to use as much time as we can here. So, are you from the Bronx?
No, actually, I'm from Harlem.
You're from Harlem? Oh, okay, that's close. Teen pregnancy. What do you think?
Wow, you know, it's one of the most challenging issues to deal with. You know, I mean, especially if you're the parent trying to raise a child already. I mean, having a kid itself, it's a blessing, absolutely, but it's also a challenge.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, do you have a kid?
No.
Oh, thank God. Not me either. Yeah, we're too young to have kids, but there are fathers who are in situations where they have kids already who are our age or maybe even a little younger, which is not good. But bring this issue up because it doesn't get talked about a lot in the news, but it does happen in communities of suburbia USA. It's shunned upon. It's looked down as a bad thing, and like they do like Teen Mom and Pregnant at 16, like they do those documentaries and stuff like that, and it's really good for people. But they never do those documentaries in the Bronx, New York, or Harlem, or Southside Chicago, or like the places where teen pregnancy is like, it's not like it happens. Like they never go to those moms. Why is that?
I don't know. Maybe one reason could be because it's probably, they would probably see it, and people would probably see it as an exploitation they would actually see it as an exploitation of people who don't have the economic backgrounds.
We export people. We exploit people all the time. Look at Jersey Shore and The Real World and all those things. I mean, Flavor Flav, Flavor of Love. My God. I don't think it should be exploitation. I don't think it's exploitation. I think it's looking at, okay, this is happening.
I don't know. Maybe it's more. It could be like more. When people are probably ashamed to admit it, like sometimes, like I'm saying that I'm not saying that that it doesn't happen, but it seems like it just seems like people are having more kids when they're younger nowadays.
Yeah. To me, I think it's all about the policy, like the way the policy. I'm going to tie this, and this is a stretch, but all right, we're both single males. When we graduate and when we get out into the real world and stuff like that, if we lose our job, it's on us. If we don't have food to eat, it's on us. If we're homeless and none of our family members can pitch in or help out, it's on us. I mean, we might get lucky, but it's basically on us. A woman will be able to get shelter before man. There are more women's shelters than there are men's shelters, and it's safer for women to go to shelters than men. Like, most homeless men would rather be homeless than go into a shelter. It's safer on the streets. Even, what do you call it? But also, a woman who has a kid and is poor economically, this woman can get free tuition, this woman can get food stamps, and this woman can get her rent paid or a gigantic portion of her rent paid. I mean, we're giving her all the tools to succeed. But the thing is, she can't have a husband and do that.
Well, actually, that's the thing, And it seems in most families, like, you have the parents who are the heads of the household, the parents who are raising kids, and of the parents who are the head of the household is usually the male, because literally it's like when you look at the job of a father, it's his job to be head of the household, protector, provider, and all that and so much more, which I'm saying, which comes with the responsibility of being a parent, period.
Both genders play a big role.
Absolutely. I mean, basically, the amount of stuff that they do for kids is equal, split down the middle.
Yep.
But I think it's unfair for the female to have to raise a kid by herself.
Definitely. That's definitely true. But females do have an advantage if they have kids. Like, if they have kids, they have an advantage of making themselves better. But what I see in the Bronx all the time is that you'll have like one, maybe two kids. I'm 21 years old. I'm almost 22. All the women I knew, I went to an all-male academy for high school, so all the women I knew in junior high school, like, just about all of them are pregnant and have kids, or like. That is just like, wow. And like, what are you doing with yourself? Like, did you graduate high school? Some of them would say no. Like, some of them would say yes. Did you go to college? No. It's just too much. I have kids and all that stuff. And would you say that like college? Like, you ain't gotta go into it like all classes. You probably take one class at a time or something like that. But do you think it's important for your growth at our age? Like, does that change your parenting patterns?
You mean if we were to have kids while we were younger?
No, like, because of your college education, do you think that you'll know more about being a parent, or you'll be a little better at it than if you didn't have it?
Oh, you definitely be a little better because first of all, there's nothing wrong with somebody wanting to educate themselves. That's where it starts. You don't have a strong education, not like living here in America. If you don't have a strong education, I'm sorry. People who have the strong education, they will squash you.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Won't even think about it.
Yeah, unemployment rate for people with college degrees is only 4% right now.
Exactly.
Nationally, it's about It's 18% if you count the people who have stopped looking for work. So it's a better chance.
Now, what is the result of somebody that doesn't have a high school diploma? Somebody that didn't go to high school?
That's got to be worse. You can't really get a job nowadays without a high school diploma.
There you go.
Some bosses will look down on you if you have a GED. They will not hire you because they're like, you couldn't even finish high school.
You know, I'm sorry, but yo, this is the truth. I mean, it's like, if a person has a higher degree than you, and y'all are looking for that same position, you know, I'm sorry to say this, but you know, if you didn't make it past high school, and the person who made it through college, if y'all started off in the same level, like, you know, living in the same neighborhood and stuff, then I'm sorry, then the person that put the most work in, the person that puts the most work in, no matter what the circumstances are, then they deserve the job.
Yeah, I agree. But I don't think pregnancy should affect it completely affect your decisions, because
absolutely not.
Quick story. Last year I had a class with a woman with 3 kids. That was it. Like, she had 3 kids. She had no husband. She was working a job and a half, and she was getting her master's. And I was like, are you serious?
You cook her.
Yeah, I said that. I was always praising her, because I'd look at her, like, I'd be upset about my work, or I'd just be like, I'm so tired, and then I'd see her like, oh, what am I complaining about?
Exactly.
Like, it is possible, and the way it's looking for our future, we will not have a lot of things that a lot of old people have when we're that age.
And that most of the people, and some of the people that are, you know, further up in age, you know, they started with college education.
That's definitely true, my friend. That's definitely true. So what would you tell what would you tell a teenage mom who's growing up in not the situation that teen mom has right now? Like, a lot of them are middle class and stuff like that. What'd you tell a below middle class teenage mom right now? What advice would you give to her?
My advice would be, you know, if you're in school, stay in school. If you're not, do your best to get in. Then once you're in there, do your absolute best, because literally you're in a situation where you cannot afford not to be at your best.
Yeah, I completely agree. I say stay in school, do the best you can, and continue to learn. Like, especially if there are parenting classes available or psychology classes, take them, because when raising a kid, it can be tough. I mean, I know teen moms that they'll be going crazy at their kids, or they'll be yelling, and I'll be like, you can't do that all the time. And they're like, why? They have to learn. Like, no, because looking at it from my standpoint, I'm just like, you just need to talk to your kid more. You really need to explain things.
Sometimes it's just changing your approach.
Yeah. And if you keep on doing the same thing, and you get angry because it's not working, that means you need to change something. Like, something's not working. All right. We couldn't spend all day on that topic. It's a great topic, though. We'll bring it up again. We have a few minutes left. We got about 7-8 minutes left, people. So we're gonna leave the topic with an article I've been writing. I've been writing an article. Gonna be 22, November 22nd. So, known him for 9 years of my life, and for all those 9 years, he's been homeless. I saw him the first time when I took the train. I was on the D train in New York City. I see him. He's, how do you call it, African American, maybe Latino, long black hair, glasses, like, just smells like he's been wearing the same clothes. 9 years, the same clothes. And same smell and everything like that. And I look at this, and the other day I saw him, and I'm just like, I've known him for 9 years, and he's been homeless. Like, that's just. And some of my friends saw too, and I was distraught, because it's just like, What's your reaction to that? Like, what would you do if you were in that situation?
If you mean if I saw the same homeless guy that I know,
if you were the homeless person,
then
and you've been homeless for 9 years, how do you continue to live?
Well, it comes down to a choice. It's like whether you want to get out of this situation, you have to fight. And if you don't, then then your situation remains the same, or possibly gets worse.
Would you be sad or angry at the world or something like that? Or would you... Some people would say, and it pains me to say this, some people would say, oh, I'd be dead inside. But I look at people at full-time jobs and who have great money in the bank, and I'm like, they're dead inside. A lot of them are just angry people, angry at the world. How would you not be angry at the world a little bit or dead inside?
But if I was homeless for 9 years, I'd be angry at myself, angry at everybody, because 9 years is a long time to go without home, and that means, and I think that if it was 9 years, that means that somewhere along the line, he missed an opportunity.
Yeah, or somewhere along the line, people gotta make some more opportunities. Like it can't just be. Like, I volunteered at soup kitchens. I brought, gotten people, sleeping bags and warmer clothes to wear in the winter. Hey, that's great. That's great. But eventually, there's got to be some programs to make it where we get these people a place to live, get them on their feet.
Actually, a friend of mine's, actually, I was with him last week, and he actually works with this organization called Picture the Homeless.
Nice.
And when I think about the situation that you just posed to me, I would actually, see if I could talk to somebody that knew how to deal with homeless situations and stuff like that. When you deal with a situation involving homelessness, you have to, if you don't know basically all the stuff that goes on with the problem of homelessness, then you need to get somebody on your side that knows about the problems.
Definitely. Like there's some organizations that can definitely help. Catholic Church, if you're Catholic, it doesn't really matter if you're not Catholic, or Episcopal social services can help. What do you call it? What's that army? Salvation Army. Salvation Army can help. But sometimes it's about what do you call it? Okay. So, would you revert to a life of crime if you were in that situation? Would you steal from people? Would you sell drugs or anything like that? If you're faced with that situation, like you're starving and you smell and you're hungry, and it's been years, would you even think about it?
I don't know what I would do. Flat out.
Yeah. But can you see yourself, what's going through your mind as you think about that?
As I think about that, I think that, some people would honestly rather be locked up than be homeless.
At least you get 3 squares a day. It's not much, but it's something. And some people would rather be homeless than locked up. There's definitely people like that too. But it's a tough life. There's a quote by John Holt, and I'm gonna mess this up, people, because I don't know it that well, but I was just thinking about it, and it says something like this: It doesn't matter what do you call it. It's not what determines a man is not about how much you know. It's about what you do when you don't know what to do. So if you don't know what to do, your reaction to not knowing what to do shows your true character. Meaning if you're in that situation, it's just wow. If you're in that situation and then you just start robbing people, that means you're willing to. It's somewhere in you. If you're not, then it's what do you think about that?
people are always gonna do what they gotta do to survive. I'm sorry, like you know, it comes down to a life or death situation right there.
Go further.
If a person was homeless for 9 years, either they are going to continue to fight or they're going to give in.
Yeah. They're just gonna die inside a little bit, and it's just gonna go. And that's well, this is the thing. Whenever I've known this guy for 9 years, whenever I see him, he always says the same thing. He always says to everyone, "Don't forget to smile. It's the most important part of the day. Don't forget to smile."
That's actually good advice.
That is very good advice. But that is very good advice, especially when it's coming from him. Because imagine you're just feeling like crap. You're not having a good day at all, and then all of a sudden, this guy who you know is going through just a lot says this to you, and you're like, you know what? I need to smile. I need to.
Yes, because it makes you realize rather quickly that that whatever you're going through, it could be a whole lot worse.
I mean, this man is homeless. A lot of society will never know his name. They'll never write books about him or anything like that. They'll never praise him, but I'm going to praise him right now because I say and just commend him, because out of the 9 years that I've known him, he's never robbed anybody. He's never appeared to be on drugs. He's never sold drugs, and he just keeps on going. And he says that's his slogan. So that just gives me hope in my life, because I'm like, wow, this guy just keep on going. So we've got to be able to keep on going too. We've got to, even if worst comes to worst, there's got to be a little bit of just human in us, you know. Give us your last thoughts.
Well, basically, to wrap up what we talked about today, it is first and foremost, you gotta look at yourself. You know, our odds are like when you have a problem, sometimes people blame it on other people and forget to look at what they themselves did to contribute to it. You know, and once you figure out what happened, like, you know, try and rectify it. Like, you know, if you know how to correct it, then do it, you know, and do it without looking back. And don't hold grudges, because holding grudges it consumes a lot of energy.
It does. It takes a lot of energy out of you. Any last statements?
Well, you know, stay positive.
Stay positive. That's always a good one, brother. My last statement is this: we're all connected to each other. We're all connected to each other. Our success as a nation and as people. Like, we need people to do well. We need people to keep on going, and we have to be able to pick each other up when we fall. We can't just be a society that just, like, lets people destroy each other. I mean, we're not. A lot of people look at, say, social Darwinism, like the weak shall
Die out.
The weak are gonna die out. No, that's not true. I mean, how do you define weak, and how do you define the strong? Where someone's strong in, they may be weak in other things. So, I mean, like, it's unclear. I just think I want to be a part of a nation that's willing to help people when they're down. That is what I want to be a part of, and I think other people should strive to be a part of it, and like to make that come true. It's hard. It is not easy work or anything like that, but I think we should work towards it in little baby steps to get there. And also, people, as my friend would say, keep on smiling. It's the most important part of the day. This has been the Weekly Scholar, coming to you from WHLC, Lehman College, and I've been your host, John Jones, and my co-host,
Jesse Jones.
All right, we're the Jones brothers, technically. All right, have a good week, and we hope that you enjoy and keep on going with life.